Hi everyone, this is Ann Klemmer and Stamper from StamperDog.com doing a scissor pouch. Do you know, we made these really cute scissor pouches with our team of demonstrators called the 24/7 Stampers way back in March of 2012, and everybody kept asking me to do a video. So now I'm going to do one for the bigger scissors, and I really love this red and black timeless portrait. So you're going to start out with the Dresden Designs Bigs die, and you're going to do two patterns, and you're going to do a piece of, or actually two pieces of interfacing on the smaller size. Now you could do them the same size and then trim it down, but it's so much easier to do the smaller size of the interfacing and not have to do that trimming. Now you could also make this all out of the same pattern, but I like it with two different patterns. And when you sew them, make sure that you sew them right sides together. So now we're just going to sew the very top part and figure out exactly kind of where we want to sew that, where we want that top part to bend. So what I'd like to do here is I'm just going to lay these down kind of informally and just bend it down and see, wow, that looks about right. So that's about where I'm going to fold it. Now, anybody with some home economics training or sewing class, basic sewing classes, can do these. I actually never pinned them together, but you're going to get a better finished product if you do pin them together. Now I'm putting the dots here just so I have some reference of how far down I want them to, I want to sew around that great big arch. But the main thing is you just want it to be the same all the way across. And if you don't get it exactly the same, that's okay too. So you're going to go over to your sewing machine, or you could hand sew it, and sew a scant 1/4 inch seam. Now that just means a little bit smaller than a 1/4 inch, and it's on the outside of where the interfacing is. I'm not catching the interfacing in the seam. And then I'm going along and I'm cutting about every 3/8 of an inch. It's, along that curve so that it will turn over better. So all we're going to do, see, look, we turn it inside out, and there's that arch, and it looks pretty good. In fact, in a minute, how about if I just show you how I did that? I just took that piece that I'd sewn together and turned it inside out with my fingers. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to take these away and I'm going to iron them, because that's the secret of any nice fabric project, is to iron. I don't iron for anything else, but I can iron for this. And that will give you a nice arch. Now this is where you have to decide what side you want to be the outside. And I want the cherry cobbler to be the outside. If I wanted the black to be the pouch part, I would put the two black parts together. But for this, I'm going to put the cherry cobbler parts together, because I actually like that to be the main part that's holding the scissors. Now when you put this together, you do want to keep all of your layers of fabric as even as possible, and that will give you a much more satisfactory result. And then you're going to cut, or actually you're going to sew from that little notch. And here, let me go and make this a little bit closer for you. You're going to sew from this little notch right here all the way down, doing the scant 1/4 inch around the bottom, and then back up to the other side. Now when you do this, you want to go over the bottom part a couple times extra, because you are putting scissors, and that's a pointy object, and you don't want them coming out the bottom. So when you sew, just go over that bottom bit just 1 or 2 times more, and then you're going to have more reinforcement there. And see, I didn't even go all the way down. I just went to the outside of the interfacing, and so now I'm going to trim that off with the scissors. You could go all the way down, but you're going to see it takes a minute to turn that inside out. And so I trim those corners, and that'll make it easier to turn and give you a much better on the outside look on the outside. So here I'm just going to scrunch that up and turn it inside out. It's probably the hardest thing I do. At least it seems to take the longest amount of time. Just put your finger in there, and I have short fingers, so they're not going to do the job really well. Now you might be tempted to get the pokey tool and go and put the dull end of that up there, but I don't want you to poke yourself with the sharp end of it. So take a pin that the cap won't come off and stick that up there, or just anything that's going to have a rounded end and it's going to bring that all the way out, because you want that seam to come out as far as possible. And don't give up until it's just the way you want it. And see, look at now I'm going to trim it down. Now mine, if you want to know the truth, isn't exactly even, but I'm going to press it down, and so that I'm going to decide which end is the side I like the best, and then I'm just going to press it down and make it'll look even. And see, doesn't that look nice with those black handled scissors? But let's kick it up a notch, and all I'm going to do is add a little bit of the cherry colored dotted ribbon. Now it doesn't really matter that it's dotted, because the dotted part's not going to show. That's what I love about this ribbon, because if I want the dots to show, they show. And all I did was zigzag them about a couple inches, just so that they're about the size I want. And I actually used the mat. And don't try to stick that through with your fingers. It's just not good. And then, if I was smart, I would have taken the pokey tool and put a little hole in the pouch itself, just the little lip there. But no, I went and took the brad and I forced it through. Now you could do that with this cotton, because it will, it'll forgive something like that. But if you were making this out of satin, no, I would definitely use the pokey tool. So here, that's got just enough weight to hold that down, and I don't want to have it on the inside, because I don't want it to mar my scissors, because those are really nice scissors and I like them a lot. This is Ann Klimmer and Stamper from StamperDog.com, trying to put a little bit of ink, paper, and fun into your day.